Hello, hello. It's a minute early. I just wanted to hop on and make sure that everyone that wanted to get in the group is in. And I'm really excited to be doing this today because anxiety is really important to me because I've been dealing with it and I have been talking about it and I have been helping people with it. And it's just such a prevalent problem. And so that's why I'm so passionate about talking about it and not scared to talk about it because it's very real and so many people are dealing with it. And what I'm going to talk about today is food. I'm not going to get into herbs or anything. So whether people are on medications for their anxiety, they're still going to be able to take the tools in the training and use them. Awesome. Oh, hey, Kevin. Hey, Georgina. Hey, everyone's perfectly on time. That's great. Thank you so much. So, okay, I don't see any more notifications. Fantastic. I hope everyone's having a good week. I like Tuesday. Tuesday's a good day, isn't it? Tuesday is like one of my favorite days. Well, I mean, Saturday is a good day too, but when you're self-employed, you end up working Saturdays anyway, so it doesn't really matter. Look at this beautiful piece of selenite that I just found. Really beautiful. Okay, so I will start out by. I'm just going to start. People that are on, thank you so much for joining me, and everyone else is joining later. Thank you for watching. The reason that I want to do these talks is because anxiety is a big problem, and it's a problem that maybe people don't even recognize that they have. For me, it was not a problem until it became very, very clear that there was something much bigger going on. And unfortunately for me, it came at the worst possible timing for me. I had been... and I do have a blog. The 5 Self-Care Rituals blog is where I tell my story. It was like my coming out story with my anxiety. And I do tell my story in there. But what I didn't tell was that the first panic attack that I ever had was actually when I was on vacation in Europe. And it just was really, really awful. I was in Paris for my friend's wedding, my friend who lives there, and hey, Dennis, and I had my first panic attack there, and I knew that I had been, having this high stress lifestyle, and I was running my own business and not really taking care of myself the way that I knew that I should have. And I talk about that in the blog post. I say like how ironic it was that I wasn't doing what I knew I should have been doing to take care of myself. But that's sort of the issue with people that are in the wellness industry. Most of us are teaching what we need the most. It's really funny. And so yeah, I was in Paris, and I just suddenly got very nauseous, and then I felt like I couldn't breathe, and things got spinny. I remember we were in this open walkway, and all these people were, milling around, and it could have just been like this nice, beautiful, relaxing moment, but instead it just was like, whoosh, it just happened so fast. And all these symptoms came like all at once. So, things got a little bit spinny and weird. And then because I started having tightness in my chest, that was really scary to feel like I was out of breath. And I don't have asthma. I didn't have any problems with my lungs, so I didn't understand why that was happening to me. So of course, my first thought was that I was dying. And it was really, really scary, and I got myself to a Parisian hospital, which was super fun because no one spoke English. They thought I was pregnant. They said all these different things once they figured out once I could explain to them what was happening. And so it was a really terrifying experience. And when I got back to Canada, obviously my first goal was to research what was going on with me. Like most people do when they have, brand new things happening, they try to dive in and figure it out really quickly. And so I did that. And yeah, it was very frightening. But it was very real because I was very scared to talk about it at first with people because of the stigma with mental health, which we're working on. A lot of people are more open now about talking about these things with people, and people are learning to be more accepting about other people's experience in life. And usually when you are able to talk to someone about it, they have either a similar experience or they know someone that has a similar experience, and so they can listen to that and appreciate it, and if they can't help, at least they will understand a little bit better. The problem with anxiety and other mental health issues is that they're easily well hidden. And so the reason that I didn't tell anyone publicly, within my business, about my anxiety was for that exact reason. Because of the stigma around it, I had this fear that I would be judged, that I wasn't as good of a nutritionist as I should be because I was dealing with mental health issues. But instead what happened was that once I finally got the courage to tell my story, I just got this outpouring of support. I had so many people private message me. I had so many people email me. I got more clients from it because people were actually like, oh, she understands anxiety and she can help me with it. So even though it was really, really scary for me, it actually turned out really, really well for both me and people that needed my help. So it was, in the end, a great idea, but I'm still working on it. And that's the amazing thing with anxiety, is that you can feel like you have a grasp on it, and then, you can fall off the wagon. If you listen to me in Nikki's last podcast, we talked about this with Tracy Steen of Move Daily Fitness, and how, life happens. And so you're going along, you have these good foundational, wellness things that you do, and then something happens and you fall away from it. And then you have the choice to either go back or just say, screw it, and keep not paying attention to any of those things. And then things get worse and spiral. And so that's sort of how anxiety is. It's this roller coaster. It's like, okay, I feel like it's pretty under control. And I feel like, I sort of understand, maybe what my triggers are, or certain really specific things that I need to do in order to keep it under control. And then something might happen. Like for instance, for me, just in the last month, I've had numerous people in my tribe pass away or get diagnosed with terminal illness, get diagnosed with cancer. It's been a rough go. And so, when these things happen, you have the choice to go into, as Nikki said in the podcast, you go into that nurturing mothering role where you want to take care of everyone else, but you can't do that well enough unless you're taking care of yourself first. But it's our natural inclination to take care of other people first, and we fall off our own wagon of self-care. So for me, that's the roller coaster of anxiety. Is like, it's going really, it's good. It's like, I feel like I'm doing the things that I need to do to maintain it. I can go for months now without an attack, or if I do have an attack, it's really quick. I have tools to calm it, so it goes away very fast, rather than when I first had them, they would last, half an hour to an hour long. And that's a really, really long time to watch your body go through this sort of torture. And so, now I have these tools in place, and so it's way more manageable, but it's still there. And so I totally understand why people would, try certain things and then go, this isn't working. I'm just going to go and get on medication. And, that's the thing with conventional medicine. It works in acute cases. It does the things that you need it to do. But there's all these other things that we can do underneath of that, foundational to that, preventatively for that. And so they can all work together. And I have a blog on how holistic medicine and conventional medicine should be working together. And all of the brightest doctors in my industry that I follow who practice medicine but are very holistic minded all have that same feeling, that conventional and preventative medicine, these holistic ways should be working together. They should be working in tandem. So that's my story. It's happened to me after, a lot of stress, and the actual panic attack happened to me when I was out of the country, which was really scary. Started working on it when I got back, but silently, and then finally came out with my story about what it was like for me. And I even talk about all the symptoms that I have, and that everyone has different symptoms. It presents differently in different people's bodies, and that's another interesting thing about it. Some people have anxiety and panic attacks and they only feel it in their chest, or Some people, get dizzy but don't have the breathing. And so it presents differently in different people, and that's another thing about it that makes it hard necessarily to even get people to take, if you go to the doctor for it, even to take you seriously or to get a proper diagnosis. And then being able to talk about it publicly, how much it's helped people and helped me, not just for myself and my understanding of it, but also my business. Hey, Shannon. Hey, thanks for joining. So that's my story. And so why we're experiencing it today, I don't really think I need to talk about. It's the same, just repeat stuff that people are always saying. We're very busy. We lead really stressful lives. We have so much going on. People with families are incredibly busy, especially with both parents working, activities, sports, all these things, and then trying to feed your family. It's just not simpler times anymore. And then on top of that, we have these devices that we carry on our person all the time that are constantly dinging at us and asking for attention. And that's adding to our stress levels. So basically, our nervous systems are really messed up. And so there's a lot of, fundamentals in yoga, in wellness that we can take that will help our nervous system to be able to figure this out better. And it doesn't necessarily mean that we have to get rid of all of these things, because we can't. We can take short breaks to sort of reset our nervous system, but we have to just learn to cope with the reality that we are in right now, and that's the reality. So this is one of the things that I talk about with clients when we're talking about things that are causing them anxiety. So you only have two options. You get rid of the thing that's causing you anxiety, or you learn a way to cope with it. That's literally your only two options. So if you can't get rid of it, if it's not something you can move out of your life or move yourself away from, then there has to be some sort of coping mechanism for that. And humans have different types of coping mechanisms. We have healthy ones and we have not so healthy ones. I did also mention that I was going to talk about digestive fundamentals really briefly, and that's because when I did the poll asking about the free training that you guys all wanted, I think it was a tie. The last time I checked, it was a tie between the digestive fundamentals and the anxiety. So I'll just talk a tiny bit about digestive fundamentals, and then I'll talk about our nervous systems and what's going on with that. I'll talk about the foods, blood sugar. I'll talk really, really briefly on exercise, and then I'll get a little bit more into the lifestyle stuff and make sure that you have some proper set of tools that you can take and start working on. And I'm not what I would like is for you to pick and choose things that are going to work for you, and that's how I always work with my clients as well. I'm never going to say here's all the things that you need to change. Here you go, have fun. That's not how I roll. So everything that I'm talking about, if something resonates with you and you're like, yes, I think that I should try that one. Or if it's a food, if it's the foods, I think I want to try that one food. You don't have to change everything overnight. It's not realistic and it's not sustainable. So, digestive fundamentals. So what does our digestion have to do with anxiety? I could do a whole other lecture on the gut-brain connection, but that's not really what I want to talk about today. So for digestive fundamentals, what this has to do with our anxiety is that if our digestive system is not functioning up to par, up to the way that it could be, we're not going to be breaking down our food as well as we could be. We're not going to be absorbing the minerals and the vitamins and the enzymes from it that our body needs in order to function better. So when our digestive system is weak, we're not going to be getting, when our digestive function is weak, we're not going to be getting the nutrients from our food that we could be. So that's sort of the simplest way for me to explain it. So there's a few fundamentals that you can do to improve your digestive function other than stress relief, because as soon as we're stressing, and I'll talk about this later, the nervous systems, as soon as we're stressing, our digestive function goes down. So it's really, really key, first of all, that we are chewing our food properly. And most people are really, really rushed with meals, and I totally get it. but it would be more beneficial to eat less but chew it really, really well than to eat a huge plate of food and like scarf it down, right? So if you only have 4 minutes to eat something, just make sure that whatever it is, that you're chewing it really, really, really well. We used to say when I taught at the School of Natural Nutrition, we used to say, chew your food to a paste. Now, most people don't like hearing that because it's kind of gross. But what you're doing when you chew really well, because our stomach doesn't have teeth, is we are breaking down the fibers, getting more of the available nutrients ready for the enzymes in our stomach to start using them for what they're meant to go to do. And so when we don't chew our food properly, we're basically giving our digestive system extra work, and we're just assuming that our stomach's going to just churn this all up and just figure it out for us. And so a really blunt way of describing this is just to say, your stomach is not a, oh crap, now I can't remember the name of it. The garburator. Your stomach's not a garburator. You can't just chuck big chunks down there and it's just going to be super easy for it to crunch and munch it up. Stomach doesn't have teeth, again. So chewing your food really, really well is super important. A lot of people drink a lot of liquids with their meals, and that's another thing that weakens our digestive powers a little bit. And so just pay attention to how much you're drinking with your meals. A lot of people have that stuck from their childhood of like that big glass of milk or the big glass of water with their meal. But one of the things that does is waters down our digestive enzymes, and our digestive enzymes are what are actually starting to break down our food in the stomach. So we want to have strong enzymes in our stomach. And if people are 50 plus, because when you age, your enzymes start to go down. The really easy aid for that is plant-based digestive enzymes that you can purchase in health food stores. And you can just talk to the health food store staff, tell them what you're looking for. They're really affordable, and just start with taking one with your biggest meal of the day. And so you'll help your body break down your food better. So chewing, water, obviously fermented foods and probiotics are important. So if you're not getting a little bit of sauerkraut or kombucha or kefir or unpasteurized pickles, any of those fermented foods, kimchi, any of those fermented foods you want to be getting in a little bit every day. Hey, Teresa. And a lot of people ask me how much of the fermented foods that they need to be eating. Oh, and yogurt, if that works for you. I forgot about yogurt. How could I forget about yogurt? But good quality yogurt. My favorite brands are Jerseyland and Soggy and Country. Real yogurt has 2 ingredients only: whole milk and active bacterial cultures. That's it. Yogurt is not a dessert. It is a traditional food. Now I've gone on a tangent. Right, how much? So it doesn't have to be a ton. It's very common for people to think that this is good for me, so I better eat a ton of it. We really don't need to do that. So if you're having drinks like a kefir or a kombucha, you only need a couple ounces a day. If you've never had them in your diet before, you just want to start out really small, so like 1 ounce a day, and then increase as you feel, and your body will tell you, because you'll start craving them. That's why a lot of people say to me, like, they're like so shocked when I tell them that, because they're like, oh, the smaller size of kombuchas that you can buy in the grocery store from the big guys, they're like, I drink one whole of those in a day. And it's like, and it's fantastic. I mean, but it's your body is asking for more, and that's good. But you don't need that much. Oh, let me see if I can look at these comments while I'm on here, because I have to read all of this. Yeah, paste breakdown. Oh, thanks for the comment. Yeah, perfect. Oh, and I didn't do the housekeeping at the beginning of this video. You're super welcome to comment. I love it. But if you have any questions that I can answer specific to you, then I will gladly do that at the end, and I will tell you when I'm ready to do that. Okay, so those are, the probiotics in the fermented foods, those rich in enzymes, going to help your body, your digestive system function better. Cutting down the water and chewing really well. Those are digestive fundamentals. And of course, if I was doing a whole talk on that, I would likely give you a lot more. But I just wanted to give you really simple fundamentals to start with, because we're focusing on anxiety and not digestion. But those are really big ones that can make a world of difference. And so I'll leave you with that. So next on my list is the nervous system. So the simplest way to describe what's happening when we're having anxiety is we have two different nervous systems that our body can be in. So we have the sympathetic and the parasympathetic. And the sympathetic is our stress. It's our fight or flight. So that's the nervous system that you're in when you feel that rush of adrenaline. Like if someone cuts you off in traffic, you just slam your brake on. That fight or flight, that fear, is our sympathetic nervous system. And then our parasympathetic is the relaxing one. So the parasympathetic is the nervous system that we'd like to be in most of the time, but we're totally not. We're chronically in sympathetic. And what the body is trying to do is prepare us for the worst case scenario and prepare us to either have to fight something. You know, these are like very basic tribal fundamental things that our body is doing to protect us from animals, predators, right? Things that we don't have to worry about anymore where we live here, except for those deer in Penticton, haha. But it's overcompensating because it doesn't realize that these aren't real problems yet. It might see if we get a bill in the mail and we know we can't pay it, we get that fear, but that's not a real fear. That's just in our head, us going, oh shoot. But it's not actually life-threatening to us, but the body thinks that it is. And so because we don't have proper coping mechanisms in place, what happens is that our body starts firing that more and more and more and going, like, this is a real fear. This is a life-threatening thing. This is a life-threatening thing. And when we start allowing ourselves to do that more and more, the body gets comfortable shooting out all those hormones for us and ready to help us. Like, the body is just trying to help us. But it's our mind that has to learn to tell the body when we need that and when we don't, which is the trick, but really hard. So when I get to the lifestyle section and we talk about breathing and meditation and all of that, what we're trying to do in that section is get into the parasympathetic nervous system and stay there longer and learn to tone down sympathetic so that even when we do get those rushes, we can go, oh yeah, no, this isn't life-threatening, this is okay, and come back down and go really quickly back to parasympathetic. So think about this, for example. I need to have a sip of water. If you think about those, say there's, animals on the safari, and there's something being chased by a lion, and it's being chased, and so obviously it's in fight or flight because it might die, for real, in real life it might die, and then, sorry, I'm having texts come in, and then it doesn't get caught, it escapes, narrowly escapes. So what does it do? The lion goes away. He's angry. He doesn't get his meal that day. So the animal lies down and very quickly goes back to a relaxed state. It might, sigh a little bit, like have some heavy breathing, get nervous system, get it out, but then it goes back. It just goes back to surviving, just doing its thing. But because we have this great brain, it's harder for us to do that. What anxiety is another level of we're creating these stories in our brain. So if we were the animal that narrowly had our lives taken by the lion, as humans we might, instead of lie down in the grass and go back to eating and living, we might sit down and go, holy crap, that was really scary. I can't believe it. I can't believe that that just happened to me. Why did that happen to me? That's not fair. That's not right. There's nothing right about this world. And it's so dark, and I hate everything, and I'm such a failure, and you just spiral, right? But that's what we do because we're conscious. We're thinking these things. And then we spiral to other things. What if the lion comes back? What if he's right behind me right now? What if he comes back tomorrow? I better go tell everyone about that he's around. What if he gets my cousin, right? Like, so because we have these wonderful brains, we have this challenge of constantly having stories happen that are potential triggers for our nervous system to go right back into fight or flight. And so I think that's the gist of what I wanted to say in that section. So food and lifestyle we want them to work in combination for your anxiety. So what you want to do is start making little tiny changes with things that you're eating, things that you're doing, things that you're spending your time doing or not. And I've had this conversation with people many times when we talk about getting in some new lifestyle is what do you spend your time doing when you're not at things that you have to be at? So if you work 9 to 5, what do you do between 5:15 and 10? And a lot of the times people are really, really busy. They have tons of stuff to do. But there's other times, maybe in the evenings or the weekends, where they're like, I spend 3 hours binge watching Netflix. Okay, that's good. You're relaxing. But we could use a chunk of that time to really pinpoint anxiety and do something for it. And so when we start doing that and making time for it, we're trying to train our brain to get these new habits in, and trying to train our mind that we can fight this peacefully, that we care about ourselves enough to start working on it. And I think that's really key, because it's easy to just say, I have this problem and I'm stuck with it and it totally sucks. And I did that for a long time. I totally went into like that victim mindset when I first started having anxiety, or when I first started having my panic attacks and I got back home, and I totally went through that whole victim mindset of like, why is this happening to me? And I'm so angry about this, and and who's going to help me with this problem? And almost like just basically wanting to like look at everything outside of it instead of just being like, this is my problem and I need to fix it. So taking that level of responsibility. And by the way, as I'm saying this to you, just so you know, because this is not me preaching. That's not what I do. Everything that I talk about is also me talking to myself, because as I'm helping clients with things, I hear myself saying it, and then I'm saying, I'm saying this to you, but this is also for me, because I also need this right now. And something that I'm learning about as I'm studying I'm studying shamanism and earth magic is this idea of like mirroring and things that, and medicine. And so the things that I'm saying that might be medicine for you that are helping you are also medicine for me right now. So the reason I'm saying that is because anything that I'm talking about for the next hour, like, is not me preaching. This is like, I need this too. And my anxiety's been great. Like, for so long, it's been great. And I've been super happy. And, but the last probably week, actually, leading up, not because of this video, but leading up to the video, I've been noticing, it's interesting that I'm having more anxiety. And then yesterday, I had nightmares and I had anxiety during the day, and I just thought, what is going on? And I thought, oh, right, it's because I'm doing the video tomorrow. And so like, I'm just going to be able to lecture myself as everyone else benefits. So it's for me too. Okay, so we want our food and our lifestyle to support this. We want everything that we're doing to come into play to support it. Aw, Georgina, I don't actually know what part of it you're referring to, but I'm glad that you're relating to it. I hope I can help. So, I want to talk about some foods. Now, the reason that I'm talking about the foods is because I'm a nutritionist. But it's easy enough for you to Google foods for anxiety and figure out what they are. I have blogs on it where I talk about foods for anxiety. There's tons of books you can buy on on how to reduce anxiety using food. And so how I've changed the way that I practice in the last couple years is that I actually help people more with the psychological side of it, which is like, okay, I know how to do all these things, so how do I actually do it now? And so I'm going to tell you about the foods, and then I'm going to tell you how to do that. And so you can write these down, or you can just Google it for yourself and pick out the ones that you like. In my blog, 7 Food and Lifestyle Shifts to Calm Your Anxiety, I talk about minimizing sugars. I talk about stimulants, and then I give some foods. So I talk about free-range eggs and free-range, and I also have a fantastic blog about all the different eggs you can buy. Obviously, the very best eggs you can buy are from a farmer that is caring about the chickens, feeding them well. If they're getting organic feed, that's a huge bonus. But if they're having access to outdoors and they can pick and eat insects and grass, and they're going to have beautiful yolks that are really high in nutrients that we want and healthy fats that we need. So pumpkin seeds and nuts, dark greens. Oops, I lost my page. Oops. And Brazil nuts are fantastic for anxiety. I love Brazil nuts. I don't have them every single day because they're so expensive, but they're very beautiful and they're just easy to eat. They're just like butter. They're so yummy. You only need a couple of those a day. So what I do is I'll get a bulk bag of them and I'll just have a couple a day. And when that bulk bag is up, I might go a couple of weeks without. It kind of depends on budget, right? And so that's an easy one to get in. Eggs don't work for everyone, but again, super easy to get in. And nuts and seeds are a fantastic snack. So those are really, really easy to get in. I know a lot of people already eat nuts and seeds. So if you're already eating nuts and seeds, fantastic. If you're eating Costco salted nuts and seeds, then it's time to upgrade. So you want to be buying raw and unsalted nuts and seeds. So that's your upgrade. If you're already buying raw and unsalted, if they're organic, wow, even better. So fish, salmon, mackerel, herring, those essential fatty acids are fantastic for mental health, and that goes for depression too. If you are not a meat eater or you're not a fish eater, of course you can supplement these things, but I always go with food first. So we always want to try to get nutrients that we need in our body from food first, and then supplement if we need. And of course, fermented foods. Greens first. So in my blog, 7 Ways to Calm Your Anxiety, there's this lovely picture of kale and asparagus and broccoli. And it is hard to get enough greens in your diet, for me anyway, especially in the winter. It's really easy to have lots of greens in your diet in the summer because they're more available, they're cheaper. You might even grow them in your own backyard, and it's just easier to eat a big salad for dinner. In December, I don't want salad. I don't think I ate salad December and January. I don't even think I ate one salad. I don't want salad. Screw that. So, but when I go to the grocery store or the market, I always pick up a greens. I like Swiss chard a lot, and I just steam it because it's the only way that I like to get it in. So I put a little bit of water in a pan or some butter, and I just saute it down so it wilts a little bit. Squeeze a lemon, some sea salt. It's beautiful. I will have entire meals just of that, or you can have that as a side with your meat or whatever else you're having, if you choose to eat meat. So the dark leafy greens are easy to get in, and it's not something that takes extra time for you to add into your diet. It's just remembering to buy them when you go, and then don't let them wilt in the refrigerator and have to throw them out. When you see vegetables that are squishy and wilty and wrinkly, you're looking at vegetables that no longer contain very many enzymes at all. You're looking at enzyme deficient vegetables. And we, as I spoke about digestive fundamentals earlier, we want to have our enzymes functioning properly, and we can get enzymes from raw food. So You want to be having more raw food in your diet, but in the winter that's hard. So that's why I talk about the sautéing, because then you're still getting them in. And then if you're doing other digestive things to take care, your enzymes that are there in your stomach and not from the food will help break them down. This is another one that I'm really, I forgot that I brought some examples. I'm really digging zucchini right now. I took a client, if you saw on my business page, that I took a client to the grocery store for a tour, and I was talking about zucchini with her because I said sometimes I'll just chop zucchini and saute it until it's a little bit brown, and then have it with like rice and salmon, or if I just want veggies, I will just have sauteed zucchini. But because they were, unsure if everyone else in the family was going to like it, I said roast it with potatoes. If you're going to make, because they like mashed potatoes. Okay, you like mashed potatoes. So cook up zucchini and add it to your mashed potatoes and squish it all together. Hey, Renee. And I actually have a recipe on my blog for zucchini mashed taters. So it's a really easy way to get zucchini in your diet. I don't really like the idea of people having to hide healthy food. But because, she was 11, because I'm working with a kid, it's like, you gotta sort of make some, change some boundaries there. But as for us adults, just sauteed zucchini is super quick, super easy, and really, really good. And I'm just digging that right now. If you don't like zucchini, find another green. There's lots, and you should be spending most of your time when you're grocery shopping in the produce section anyway. I know you are, right? All the way around the circumference of the store. Avoid the middle aisles as much as possible. So, and I also have a recipe for Swiss chard with bacon, right? Because everyone loves bacon, and I have I have vegan and vegetarian followers, but most of my people are eat meaters. And so if I want them to eat more vegetables, I'm not going to tell them, hey, you can't eat bacon anymore. I'm going to say, hey, can you add some Swiss chard to your bacon? And they'll do it, right? So again, you got to play with those boundaries. So that would be my way to easily get more greens in, is to add it to what you're already doing. You can also take a supplement, but as I said, you want to start with foods first. But there's all sorts of, things that you can buy that are powdered greens, and you can add them to smoothies or water or juice or whatever. Those are, they're beautiful a lot, and they're an investment. A lot of them are really good quality. You're going to be getting all of the essential nutrients from those greens concentrated into your body. It's great. However, still not totally natural. But would I prefer people to be doing that than not eating any vegetables at all? Well, that's a hard one. I start with the food. And you can supplement with that while you're making these other little changes. So greens are really, really important. And that's because of the minerals that are going to support our nervous system. So that's what we're trying to do. We're trying to eat to support our nervous system. Fats are really, really important. And I'll just really, really quickly talk about blood sugar balancing. One of the triggers, and if you know your triggers for anxiety, that's fantastic. One of the triggers for people's anxiety can be a blood sugar. And it can be that their blood sugar is spiking and then crashing. And so what happens when it's spiked is that, our body's very excited, it's ready to go. And then when we're spiking and crashing all day, and that's just from our food and our stress levels, is that, first of all, it's really stressful on our liver when we're doing that, and it's not ideal if we're trying to lose weight either. But for our anxiety, if we know that, if we might find that it's a trigger if we are having anxiety, if we're missing a meal. So I've seen that quite a few times actually, where people are too busy, they're going too long in between meals. And then if they're like an hour after, like say they skipped lunch, oh my gosh, they're too busy, they missed lunch. And then, so then you start getting those like afternoon jitters because you haven't eaten. that's like a warning sign, right? And it's your blood sugar, but it can be a warning sign for people of like, oh shoot, I better eat because I'm going to experience some anxiety right now. We need to be having regular fuel in our body to support our nervous system if we're dealing with this right now. So we want to be having healthy fats in our diet to help support our blood sugar. And so I do have, I think it's called, The Easy Guide to Fats. So again, I have a blog on my website called The Easy Guide to Fats, and it breaks it down really easy. So it tells you, we talk about, are you afraid of fats? Because a lot of people are still in that 80s mindset that fats are bad for us. We really need fats for our brain health. We need fats for for heart health and for our weight. And so it describes in detail, but simply, the difference between good fats and bad fats and really bad fats. And so which ones we want to be avoiding and which ones we want to have in our diet. So healthy fat foods that you want to have in your diet: avocado, coconut oil, coconut milk, nuts and seeds. If you eat meat, ideally pasture-raised organic meat. And then healthy fats that you want to cook with: butter, duck, chicken, and goose fat, clarified butter. A lot of people use ghee, clarified butter, lard, and tallow. And these aren't very common, but most people, it's really easy to, if they're eating margarine, to switch to butter or coconut oil. And those are way, way, way healthier for our brain. So if we can get our blood sugar balanced, it is going to keep us more stable mentally. And another thing about fats that's really cool, which I'm going to show you this book here. This is my favorite book. This is one of my Bibles. I got it when I was studying nutrition, and I still use it all the time. It's very worn, and look at all those sticky tabs of learning. This book talks about food in a very therapeutic way, and that's why I love it. And one of the charts in here are grounding foods. And so what's happening with anxiety is that it's all in our head, but it's affecting our body. And so there's certain therapeutic properties of food that are up here, and there's certain properties of other food that are really down and grounding. And so that's it's a really different way of looking at food. But I still remember explaining it to students when I was teaching in Kelowna, and it just was really hard for them to wrap their head around it, that there was foods that were expanding and there was foods that were contracting. And it's a really different way of looking at it. But fats are very grounding, and so and roots are very grounding. Yeah, and contractive. So in the book it says radishes, onions, garlic, daikon, ginger, and horseradish. They have a really contractive, sharp flavor, but their properties once they're in the body is really contractive and grounding. So that's another different way of seeing fats that I love. And if people are feeling like, if you still have that thought of like fats are bad for me, just do a quick little bit of research on it. Totally changing our minds on that. This is the problem with nutrition, and this is why what I can subscribe to is just what nature tells us, because what humans tell you is always changing. So the easiest way for me to maintain integrity as a nutritionist is to teach you to learn what your body needs based on what nature gives us. But when the government takes over, or science says this and that, and it's always changing, and like I've had clients that are in their 70s and they're like, "You're telling me to eat butter? Are you serious? Like that's what I grew up on." And then they told me it was bad, super bad. And now I eat this, and then I switched again, and now you ask me to switch again. It's very frustrating for people. It's like super annoying, so annoying. And I totally get it. I totally get it. So I want to stick to close as nature, as close as traditional, as close as what our ancestors would do as possible. It's going to be the safest route. And all the weird newfangled things are probably not ideal. That's my opinion. And I'm sticking with it. So exercise to release pent-up energy. When I first got my diagnosis, I saw a therapist in Penticton. If you want a referral, private message me. Haven't seen her in a while, but she helped me quite a bit with settling my nervous system, and she worked specifically on that with people. So she was really, really good with people that had anxiety, because it wasn't woo hippie stuff. It was just breathing stuff and visualization for your nervous system. It was really cool. And one of the things that she said to me that I have used, not often, but once in a while, is if you're somewhere where you can't exercise, this is just the power of the mind. This is blowing my mind right now. If you're somewhere where you can't, say you're stuck like on an airplane or something, and I just had a flashback to going to Europe, and you can't go for a run, visualize yourself running, and visualize your body getting rid of all of that energy that comes in the form of anxiety, and just like you're just pumping it out every step as you run. And it is a really cool technique, and I have had to use it before. And so the power of the mind is amazing. But what does happen when we have our panic attacks is that because we have all of these hormones flooding, and right, adrenaline and cortisol and all these things going, it's like, where do they all go? So we want to move them out of our body. And so having exercise in your life is really important for anxiety. It's so hard for me to say that right now, because I haven't exercised very much at all this winter. I don't like exercising. I just don't like it. I'm going to be real with you. I hated physical education when I was in school. I was so shitty at every sport. And it's just not interested. It's just not interested. The year before I got anxiety, I started doing more walking. I mean, I've always been a walker. It's how I've lost weight in the past. But when I started having panic attacks, started walking more, and I started walking longer. And now it's easy. The sun's coming out. It's getting to be springtime. But we really have to find a way to do something to get that excess energy out. And so again, I'm going to post the podcast from Tracy Steen, because she talked about that too. It's like, just move. It doesn't really matter what it looks like. And so like for me, if I have a day where I'm like at my computer all day, like some days I have days where I'm in meetings and talks or whatever, doing all these different things, and that's great. But if I have a day where I'm just on the computer all day, I have to get up and do something. I have to get up and do some push-ups, or do a handstand, or hold downward dog for 5 minutes, or like just something. We have to move that energy out. So I'm going to post Tracy's podcast if you haven't listened to it. It's really, really good. And she is brilliant. And she has a master's in psychology. So I was like, just loving the conversation. It was fantastic. She was so good. And she says the same ideal as me. Like, let's just make this really, really easy. Let's not complicate it. And so that is something that I'm not going to tell you that you need to have in your life, because you already know, everyone knows that. Everyone knows they need to exercise. That's why people don't do it. They're like, yeah, I know. So you just have to make it fun. You have to make it work for you. Or you decide, you know what, I just need to do, I'm just going to try this for a month and see what happens. I'll become a gym rat, or I'll become a volleyball person, or I'll do whatever it is, to try it for a month and see how you feel. And huge difference, huge difference you'll notice. And then you won't want to go back to not being a fitness person. And being a fitness person doesn't mean that you have to trudge and take your gym bag to the gym for an hour, or 2 every day, 5 a.m., like screw that. Just make it really, really, really easy. Start with just walking around your block or have a friend to walk with. I forgot how hard it is to talk for an hour straight. It's been a while. So I also wanted to talk about meditation. As someone who is a yoga teacher, I knew that I should have had a meditation practice since I started teaching yoga, but I never did. And it's one of those things that you're like, yeah, I could do that, but I don't want to. And then once you do it, you're like, that was cool. I think there's something to this. And then you keep doing it, and then it becomes a habit, and it's really, really easy. It's really, really easy. And so basically, I only need you to try it for like 3 minutes a day, 2 minutes. Like start really, really small. See how simple this is, everything. I'm making everything super simple. Fermented foods, exercise, meditation, just like a couple little things, And not to take all of these, right? Remember, I said just pick 1 or 2. So for me, when I really got into my meditation practice, I got Insight Timer, which is an app that you can get. And you don't need that. That's millennial stuff. You don't need an app to tell you the time. You can use your wristwatch or the clock on the stove. But it's just nice to have something ring at you in case you want to keep your eyes closed the whole time. So a lot of people think that meditation is about clearing your mind and emptying it of all thoughts. But in fact, the goal of meditation is to become aware of how busy your mind is. And the more that you become aware of that, you become the observer. And when you become the observer, you start being able to look at your life, your experiences, your mind differently. And that's why I would say, just as important as food, that meditation is so, so huge for anxiety. And the irony of it is that people with anxiety don't want to meditate. Because when I first started, it was like, so I'm supposed to just like, I'm going to just sit here really quietly and pay attention to my mind? Like, that doesn't seem safe. And in one of my blogs, I even talk about how, I think it's self-care rituals. I talk about, it's 7 food and lifestyle additions. I talk about stressing about not stressing. Oh, the irony. This used to happen to me. I was so committed to reversing my anxiety at one point that I tried to put a ban on all stress in my life. Except life doesn't work like that. Stress comes and goes, but the moment I would perceive it, I'd try to get a handle on it and control it, and then I'd start stressing that I felt stress. And that would create more stress, and I'd have a panic attack. Best thing you can do is relax about it all. Be aware, but relaxed. So when you start meditating, you're not trying to clear your mind. You're not trying to go down rabbit holes. You're not trying to fix anything. You're just becoming aware of what's happening. And so if you've never done it before, there's tons of different techniques. Again, I don't need to tell you all these things. You can, hey Jane, again, I don't need to tell you all these things. You can go on YouTube and you can type in meditation for beginners and thousands of results. So you can pick what's going to work for you. How I've helped people do it in the past couple different easy ways. Imagine your thoughts as little clouds. So when a thought comes, you're like, oh, that's a thought cloud, and it's gone. And it's gone. Okay, and there's another one, it's gone. Because you're not going to stop your mind. You're not going to get to that enlightenment place where you're just not thinking anymore. That's not real. You'll get glimpses of it, and then you'll be like, what's for dinner? So thought comes, move it away, back to the breath. Another really easy way to start is just by counting breaths. 1, 2, maybe say, I'm going to do 20 breaths. And if you lose count, then you have to start again. And if you hit 20 without having any other thoughts, great. That's your meditation for the day. Make it really, really, really easy. So what the meditation does is move us from fight or flight to rest and digest, which is our parasympathetic. Parasympathetic, if you remember, is the nervous system that we'd like to be in most of the time. So I see that the numbers have dropped, and I wish that I could thank you guys all for watching as much as you did, because it's kind of a weird time of day to do it, I know. But I hope you come back and finish, and thank you for paying attention. So what we're trying to do with the meditation is move from the stressed nervous system into the relaxed one. And it's not going to be easy. I'm not saying it's going to be easy. It's going to be really annoying. Really, really annoying. You're probably not going to want to do it. And the reason I'm saying that is because that's what happened to me. I went through phases with it at first, and now it's like, I can't miss it. I just can't miss it. It just becomes part of your routine. And even if it's 4 minutes, it doesn't have to be 20 minutes of meditation. It doesn't even have to be 10 minutes. It could be 5, it could be 2. Just get it in. So, meditation is key. You don't have to spend money on it. It costs you nothing. It costs you very little time. Like in the time that you're picking what you want to binge on Netflix, you could have meditated. And I just urge you to try that. It's very, 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 very helpful. So, I think I've done a pretty good job of giving you some like really small, some starter steps here, and like giving you different options of how to get those in. We talked about nuts and seeds, greens, fats. Okay, I should just go through this. No, I'll do it after. First of all, I want to say that the fact that you even watch my video, or if you're sharing it with anyone, or if you're looking at doing things for your anxiety, that I appreciate you, because it is a journey, and it is often scary, but you're not alone. And the fact that you are working on it is huge. The fact that you are thinking about working on it is huge, because every little thing that we do to try is still making a shift with us in our mind. It's ourselves recognizing that we can make change and that we have the power to do that. Because I believe that people are given certain symptoms or experiences for a reason, in order to learn something. And so you can start getting curious about that. Like, why have I been given anxiety? Why is anxiety something for me that I need to learn from? Like, what's in it for me? Instead of, why is this happening to me? What's in it for me? And getting curious that way is really powerful perception shift. Okay? So I talked about the foods. I didn't talk about foods to remove. The most important food to remove from your diet if you're experiencing anxiety is sugar. I can't believe I missed that. I'm sorry. How to remove sugar. You have 2 options. You find healthy replacements, or you cut it out completely. What happens when you cut it out completely is you will likely binge after a while if you don't have enough healthy food to fulfill that void that you've left, because your body is going to be looking for those refined carbs that you gave it in the past. It's used to that level of energy that you were giving it. So great replacements for white sugar are raw honey, maple syrup, real maple syrup, not Aunt Jemima's, and molasses. Coconut sugar is a good one, but still really, really, highly refined. I use honey. That's what I use. Honey, maple syrup are my go-tos. If I get baking, it's like a super treat, or I get Connie's Gratify treats, her healthy cheesecakes and bites and things like that. And you have to make the shift of going from, this is something that I have in my diet every day, to, okay, where am I using it every day and can I switch that? So what can happen is that because we get stuck in a routine, okay, for example, I'll take a client I had in the summer, for example. She's hooked on Starbucks. Every day I get my Starbucks and I get a double, triple whammy bammy. I don't even know what she got. Something crazy sugary. Is it really, really sweet? Yes. Okay. But it also has coffee in it? Yes. But it's mostly sugar. Okay. It's mostly sugar. So first hit of sugar in the morning for our body. So that's spiking our blood sugar right off the bat, stressing out our body a little bit, already going to put us in a bit of a state of anxiety without even our mental side getting in it, just physically, right? Okay, so if we're hooked on that every day, we have a couple options. I could say, you need to cut out the Starbucks. You know that you need to do that. She'll say, yes, I know, and then she won't. So what I said was, how do you feel about alternating days? Like if you have your Starbucks every single day and it's just ritual for you to go to Starbucks, what if you could have your sweet coffee one day and then the next day have a tea that's still sweetened, but have a tea instead? She goes, okay, yeah, I'll try that. So that's the way that we can start making these little tweaks with our diet that make a really big difference, because then you're like, okay, if I can go only every other day with that thing that I thought I needed every single day, then like what else can I change? And then eventually you're drinking green tea that's unsweetened, which is perfect and high in antioxidants and really good for your brain. And maybe making it at home instead of, supporting the big guys. So these little things that we can choose to flip can make a really big difference. You can wipe sugar out of your diet. You can go and toss the bags out, or stop buying it from now on, and see what happens. I mean, there's all of the foods that I talked about are going to support you if you're lowering your sugar intake. Fats, greens, really high mineral and vitamin foods, and healthy fats are going to support you as you move away from eating sugar every day. And of course, I'm talking about white sugar right now. I am not talking about fruit sugar. Fruits are beautiful. And they're such a fantastic, fantastic food from nature. And the sugar in fruits is not the same as the sugar in a donut, because it comes in this beautiful package that nature made for us with vitamins and minerals and fiber and enzymes, so our body can break down and use it properly. That is the function of sweet foods from nature. Thanks, nature, that is the function of them, that we get that sweet hit, but without the stress to our body. So try it. Try, if there's one thing that you have that you need, super sweet coffee or baking, or I don't know, whatever it is, if there's some super sweet thing that you're into, see what you can change about it. And what I do with my clients and change makers is get people to think about things differently. So how do I feel? Like, I'm just going to use the worst example ever. Say you ate like cake every night. Cake and ice cream. Yeah. Say you had cake and ice cream every night. And I was like, okay, I want you to start journaling for me. After you eat your cake and ice cream, how do you feel? And for the first while, you might not really notice how you feel. But once you start eating better, like eating more greens and all these healthy fats and nuts and seeds, salmon, whole grains, brown rice, you start feeling better. Your body starts wanting those healthier foods more than it wants the bad ones. So after a while, you're going to be like, oh, I'm actually kind of conscious now that those foods don't actually feel very good. I actually feel like I have to go to bed like right after I eat my cake and ice cream. Like it makes me really tired. Okay, so your body doesn't actually want those foods. So now it's just all in your head. That's my secret. That's all in your head. Actually, that's great. That's perfect for anxiety because it literally is all in your head. Not to talk down to it. Not to talk down about it. It's got to be some humor with these dark things. We've got to keep it light, you guys. So that's one way of looking at it, right? Paying attention to how this food actually feels, and then, okay, is there a replacement I can put in here? Is it about the ritual of having something sweet after dinner? Because then maybe it doesn't have to be cake and ice cream. Maybe it could be a spoonful of honey in a tea. Maybe it could be a little date or a date protein ball. Maybe it could be a piece of fruit. Maybe it's just that we didn't get enough dinner and we're still hungry. Maybe it's that we didn't get enough healthy fats in our dinner, and so our body still wants more. Maybe we didn't get enough starch in our dinner, so sweet potatoes, adding in some more starches to our dinners. There are so many things that we can look at, but just look at it. Like, just give yourself the chance to look at it and see, is there a way, first of all, do I want to change this? Because that's key. If you want to eat your cake and ice cream every night, it's fantastic. But if you want to eat your cake and ice cream every night, now with the knowledge that I've bombed down that sugar is not good for anxiety, do you still want to be eating that? So looking at it differently. Can we replace it? Can we modify it? Or can we just move it out and fill the void with other things? Fill the void, I mean, as in that meal or that snack or whatever it is. Okay, so that, a little bit more about that. And I'm sorry I missed that. So I talked about the foods to add. I talked about the foods to take away. I just did. And how. We talked about our blood sugar balancing. I did talk about fats or blood sugar balancing, but another key in there is to eat more regularly. A lot of people have blood sugar issues and they're waiting too long in between meals. And so you want to be eating, you don't want to be getting to the point where you're starving, right? You know how people were talking about hangry, like I'm hungry and I'm super angry. So if there's when there's emotions around your food like that, then it's your blood sugar. It's not that you're a bad person. You just needed to eat a little bit sooner. So having little snacks on you or in your car or ready to go. So these are things you have to think of at the grocery store. Like, what do I want to have snack on for the next few days or the next week? And I just put a blog post up about the fastest way to food prep, if you haven't read that. If you're a person that needs structure and routine, then you need to be prepping your food. And so I wrote a blog. It's long, but it gives you the tools to do that really, really easily. And then you'll just always have stuff ready to go. You'll have healthy stuff in the fridge, ready to go. You won't have to think about it. And it'll just be there if you're ready. It'll be easy. And that's key. And then for lifestyle, we talked about exercise and meditation. There's lots of other things we could have got into. A lot of people have, different ways of what stress relief looks like to them. And I'm not saying that meditation and exercise are the only ways. Yes, they're key. Are they very, very key for anxiety? Yes, because of the physiological functions that they perform, that we get in the body when we perform them. But, and they're great stress relievers, but other people have different ideas on what stress relief looks like for them. And so whatever it looks like, just do it. And if it just happens to include some meditation or exercise, then that's a bonus, right? Okay, so that's all I wanted to talk about. And now there's only a couple of people still on, but if you have any questions, please put them to me now. I'm just going to check in my perfect. Okay, nothing there. So I hope this was helpful to you. I mean, that's like a lot of information that we covered. And I just really want people to know that they can do it. When you first get anxiety, you might think like, this is literally how the rest of my life is going to feel. And that's a really shit feeling, that you might feel like you're stuck with this experience. And all you have to do is change your thinking on that. All you have to do is go, what's something that I, didn't have 10 years ago that I have now, or vice versa. And you just never know what life's going to throw at you. You probably didn't know that life was going to throw anxiety at you. I didn't. It was a shock. But then you just start working on it, and you don't have to overhaul your entire life. You might, but you don't have to. There's little things at a time. Just little small movements. So step here, step there, take this, try this. And then you never know where you're going to end up. You might all of a sudden look back and go, I haven't had a panic attack in a month. Or you might say, I feel like talking to my doctor about, lowering my dose, or seeing the naturopath about trying something natural for it, or, I don't get panic attacks, but maybe I just feel like my anxiety in general is a little bit lower. And all of a sudden, it's a different experience. It's really, you just don't know. It's really, life's a weird thing, you guys. So another thing, I'm just how I want to close. The work that I do for clients is my nutrition packages. And a lot of people ask me what that means. And so I'm going to be doing a video on that soon on my business page. But I figure that people know what it is, but they don't. So I'm just going to tell you. My nutrition package is me consulting with you, learning all about you, what's going on in your body, what's going on in your mind, what are you eating, how are your bowel movements, everything, medications you're on. I want to learn everything about you so that I can make the safest recommendations. And then after we have that conversation, you can ask me any questions that you have to. And then within 3 to 5 days, I email you a beautiful nutrition package. 8 to 11 pages. Yeah, and maybe 12. It's a great overview of your symptoms and what's going on in your body, how it's all tied together. It is going to tell you where we're focusing first and why, like why it's the most vital for us to focus on those systems. And it might be, digestive system, it might be endocrine, like depends what's going on in your body. And that's what's so special about the work that I do for people, is that everyone gets something different. Everyone gets a tailored package. They're never, ever two the same. So then, based on your symptoms and what's going on in your body, I pick foods that you need to add to your diet. So foods to add to what you're already doing. And that's another thing that I love about doing this for people, is that I don't give you a meal plan. I don't say, here's how you should be eating and here's what you should be, eating at this time and these portions. No. Here's the foods that your body will benefit from right now. Here's why. And there's maybe 5 or 6 of those. There's a section on what you're already doing great at, so that you can see what you're already doing well at in nutrition and what you don't need to change at all, because you're already rocking it. And then in the foods to remove section, it's stuff that people already know. It's basically just a recap. Or if you have specific, very clear allergies or sensitivities that we talked about, then those will be in there, obviously, like gluten or dairy, like the big ones. So foods to add. And then I also do liquids, supplements, and lifestyle. So I will find special drinks or teas or fermented drinks that will be suitable for your body right now. For the supplement section, because I'm not a big supplement person, I never recommend more than 2, which is nice because then people can actually fit that into their budget. Because when we get buying into that supplement addiction, it gets really expensive. So I never do more than 2 supplements, unless there's something really, really crazy going on, and they're not on any other meds, and right, because I have to do all this research to make sure that things are safe. Maybe 3 supplements. So, and then lifestyle. So, and that'll be maybe one of the things we talked about today, like meditation or exercise or something that I see from our conversation that's really glaringly missing, that if you could figure out a way to add in, would make a big, big difference. So the reason that those nutrition plans help people is that I'm giving you a plan without giving you a plan. I'm giving you tools, things to pick at and work on. And everyone uses the nutrition packages differently. Some people are like so gung-ho, right? The type A, they're like, yes, I'm going to do it all. And they do, and it's great. And then other people are like, I'm just going to pick 1 or 2 things and work on those. And then you can go back to the package in a month and you can read it again and see where you're at. Pick another few things. Pick another, 2 or 3 things. So you can use it different ways as well. That's another thing I love about it. It doesn't have to be something that you look at and then go, no, I can't do that. Because that's what happens. That's when I first started practicing nutrition, is that I was making meal plans for people. And I'd make this meal plan, which takes a lot of time, and then people get it and they don't do it. Because it's too specific and it's too much work. So my nutrition packages are more like case studies. It's like, here's what's going on. And if you don't want to know about what's going on, you don't have to. You can skip right to the section about, what do I do? Well, here's what you do. Here's the foods to add in. Here's the drinks that you need. And here's the supplements that are going to help you. So that's what I do. And if you want a nutrition package, all you have to do is talk to me. And we'll get on a call and I'll make you one. And if you want to talk about how it can help you, I can do a free call. I do free 15-minute consults now with people, so they can talk about what's going on. We can see if working with me is right for you. And if it's not, then I don't take you. Not often, but a lot of times I've had to make referrals in the past. When people message me, they either saw me do a talk or I was recommended to them, or maybe they just found me on Google and they're like, here's what's going on, here's all the things. And I'm like, oh, no, you have to go talk to this person. So I always want people to get exactly what they need, and I'm not going to take you on unless it's going to help you. So we can have a chat about that as well. Hey, John, thanks for coming on, even though I'm just finishing up. So that's what the nutrition package can do. And I don't see any questions popping up, so I'm going to hop off. And, 4:17. Perfect. I hope that this was helpful. I kept it really simple because the irony of anxiety is that if I came on here and said, you got to change all these things and do all of these, then I'm just adding stress to your life. And the whole reason that we have anxiety is because we have a lot of stress. So we want to be practical about it. We want it to be really smart about it and just picking and choosing what is going to work for us right now. And that might be just adding in that talked about earlier, just adding in the 3-minute a day meditation, or it might be adding in, I'm going to go buy some Brazil nuts, or I'm going to have some pumpkin seeds tomorrow. Just these little things add up. These little tiny things all add up. Okay, so I hope this is helpful, and I look forward to doing the next one. I super love doing these trainings for everyone in my group, my beautiful people. Thank you so much for letting me know what you wanted to learn about. And I'll probably do another one next month. So I'll put up another poll. You tell me what you want. What else? Oh, one more thing I was going to tell you. Okay, I'm going to post the blogs that I talked about, because I always talk about so many blogs when I do my trainings, but it's because I have so many good blogs, and it's all the information's right there. So I just want to share that. I just put out another blog called 50 Ways to Leave Your Diet. Oh, thanks, Georgina. 50 Ways to Leave Your Diet. And there's actually 50 numbered bullet points of why you shouldn't diet anymore. And so go check that one out. That's brand new. Okay. That's all I have to say. Let's just all relax. Let's just all relax today. I'm going to go drink some more water. I'll probably have a tea. I'm going to work for another hour or so. I'm having dinner with a friend for his birthday. And then I'm going to have a nice relaxing bath. That's what I'm going to do. Self-care. Okay. Thanks for being here. Hopefully this was helpful. And enjoy your day.